Okay, so I want to begin by welcoming everybody. This is the 2024 Buddhist Global Relief New Year's retreat, a mini treat that we're holding just this Friday evening and then at selected periods throughout the day tomorrow on Saturday. So this is our way of welcoming in the new year and giving all of our donors and friends and Dhamma friends the chance to hear the Dhamma at the beginning of the new year and to giving some words of advice, some encouragement, so that you can begin the new year sort of bathing in the waters of the Dhamma, swimming in the sea of the Dhamma. And so we want to begin with the giving of the refuges and the precepts for those who feel comfortable with this. If you don't feel comfortable, you could just listen without participating. But if you are familiar with the refuges and precepts, these are the fundamental ways in which one expresses one's commitment to the Buddha's path, then with your microphones muted in your own place of residence, you can recite along with me, or you could recite following me. So I will recite the refuges and the precepts, then pause for a moment after reciting each line, and you on your own will recite, sort of following me. And so I'm going to share my screen. And you should be able to see now the formulas for the refuges. And so we would begin I will begin by doing the homage to the Buddha. I will do this in Pali. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, we will do the three refuges in Pali, and it's very easy to pronounce. You just follow me. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangam saranam gacchami. Then we do it a second time. Dudiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Dudiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Dudiyampi Sangam saranam gacchami. Then the third time. Tadiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Tadiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Tadiyampi Sangam saranam gacchami. Okay, so this completes now the taking of the three refuges. And then we will do the 5 precepts. And we can do these in English. So these are the 5 precepts or 5 training rules. Okay, number 1, I undertake the training rule to abstain from taking life. Number 2, I undertake the training rule to abstain from taking what is not given. Number 3, I undertake the training rule to abstain from sexual misconduct. Number 4, I undertake the training rule to abstain from false speech. And I undertake, number 5, I undertake the training rule to abstain from wine, liquors, and other intoxicants, the basis for heedlessness. Okay, so this completes the undertaking of the 3 refuges and the 5 precepts. And so that is a very wholesome way to begin the new year, by reaffirming one's commitment first to the faith and confidence and trust in the 3 jewels as one's guiding ideals in life, and then to reaffirm one's commitment to the Buddhist ethical training, which is the foundation for the entire unfolding of the Buddhist path. Okay, and now this evening will be devoted basically to a kind of blessing ceremony. And the blessing ceremony will involve some sutta chanting, some words of encouragement, and short guided meditation if time allows. Okay, and so we'll begin with Ayyā Dhammadīpā. Ayyā Dhammadīpā is a board member of Buddhist Global Relief. She was originally ordained as a Buddhist nun in the Soto Zen Buddhist tradition, in the lineage of the Japanese Zen master Shunryo Suzuki. And then in 2017, I believe it was, she ordained into the Theravada Buddhist order in Aloka Buddhist Vihara in California. And a few years later, I think 2021, 22, she established the Dasanaya Buddhist community in Alexandria, Virginia. And so Ayyā Dhammadīpā will be doing the chanting of the Metta Sutta.
Thank you, Venerable.
And
Thank
for
you.
this, I'm going to share the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to okay, I have to oh wonderful. I somehow lost.
Well, while you're doing that, Bhante, perhaps I could just say a few words about the meaning
Yeah.
of chanting Metta Sutta at
Yeah.
this point.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
I see where it
great.
is. Okay.
Okay. Well, so again, a warm welcome to everyone, and thank you for joining us. I really hope that this retreat will be a support for you, and in order to practice in a retreat, we bring together a number of supports, actually. So we started just by gathering together and being in the presence of other people who are interested in this practice. And we, by taking refuge and by taking the precepts, also set up very strong supports for the clarity of mind and heart that can come from that. And I'm probably going to speak a little bit more about that tomorrow. But But another of the practices that the Buddha described as being very, very powerful practices for fostering clarity in our hearts and minds, and fostering very beautiful, pleasant states and skillful intentions, are the practices called the Brahma Viharas, the heavenly dwellings or divine abidings. And there are four of them. And metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha means loving kindness, compassion, empathetic joy, and equanimity. And so this Metta Sutta is one of the ways, one of the teachings that the Buddha gave about this practice of loving kindness. And it's really describing a universal kindness. And sometimes I think it's hard for us to imagine universal kindness. And so the Buddha speaks about some of the ways to spark that quality in our own hearts, and some of the preparatory practices. So we'll go ahead and chant that, and then we'll see if we have a few minutes to give it a try and bring that quality to mind. So
Okay.
Bhante, if you would.
Yeah, I have it.
If you're ready. Okay.
Okay, let me just. Okay, is it visible?
Not yet. Okay, now we can see it. Beautiful.
Okay.
Just prepare my cursor here. Yes, so I'm going to go ahead and what would I like to do? Let's see. I guess we'll go ahead and chant the Pali. Maybe that's more familiar to some folks. You have the English translation there, and hopefully that is also an encouragement to you. If Pali is difficult for whatever reason, then by all means feel free to, with your mics muted, just read the English.
Did you want to chant it in your familiar English style?
I could, but this translation is very slightly different from the one that I usually would chant. But so I feel like the Pali might be.
Okay.
Yeah, but thank you for that.
Okay.
Yeah. So please chant along if you would like. Karaniya matta kusalena yantang santang padang abhisamecha Sakko jucha sujucha suvachocha samudu anatimani santu sakocha subarocha appakichocha salaukawuti santindriyocha nipokocha appagabbo kulesu ananugido Nachakudang samachare kinchi yena vinyu pare upavadeyum sukino wa kemino hontu sabe satta bhavantu sukhitata yeketi panabhutati Tasawata wadawa nawasesa Dita wa ye wadita Ye chadure wasanti avidure Bhuta wa sambhave siva Sabe satta bhavantu sukhitata Naparo parang nikubeta Nati manyeta kata chinang kanji Byaro sanapati gasanya Nanyamanya sadukamicheya Matayata niyang bhutang Ayusa eka bhutamanurake Evam pisa babhutesu manasang bhavaye aparimanang metancha sabalokasming manasang bhavaye aparimanang udang adocha tiriyancha asambadang awerang asapatang titang charang nisino wa sayano wa yawata savigatamido etang sating aditeya brahma metang viharang idamahu ditincha nupagamma silawa dasanena sampano kame suine yagedang nahi jatu kapaseyang punareti. So Bhante, if you would scroll up just a little bit to the part about just as a mother would protect her only child. There we go. Yes. Yeah. So I do think that we'll take a few minutes to practice the sutta. And I want to share this particular line with you or go over this a little bit with you, because what I'm going to invite you to do is to bring to mind some kind of an image or a phrase that sparks that quality of kindness in you. And so this is an example, actually, the Buddha giving this example, just as a mother or perhaps a father or a parent would protect their only child, so one should develop this mind of universal kindness toward all beings. So we'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and give some guidance as to how to settle into the meditation. But before even doing that, what I want to suggest is that you just take a moment at this point and eyes open or eyes closed, just take a few moments and think about an image that makes you say, oh, may that being be well. May that being be well. It could be a friend or a family member. One venerable I know says he likes to use a squirrel as his being, his image. Maybe it's a hug or some moment of kindness. So I'll give you a moment. I'll just be quiet for a moment and allow you to consider an image. May that being be well. Yes, wonderful. Right, so perhaps you've found an image. If not, you can certainly take the whole meditation time just thinking about that, about images of kindness that would help to spark that quality for you. But if you have sparked that quality, just a mundane kind of kindness, now we're going to do a brief meditation and see if we can spread that toward all beings. So just settling in your seat, wherever you are. Sensing the weight of the body, the natural stability of the body. Allowing the bones to carry the weight and the muscles to relax and soften. And so now bringing that quality of metta to mind again, a quality of wishing even just one being well-being. Allowing that pleasant quality to come into the mind. And now you can imagine that pleasant quality of metta. It begins to fill your body. Just like a sound passing through a bell. The quality of metta, starting from the top of your head, and slowly, slowly pervading your body with well-being, the intention for well-being. Always going back to the image if you lose that quality. Moving down the torso and the legs, filling the whole body with the quality of metta. Just as that bell resonates with the sound and the sound carries in all directions. And sooner or later, that quality of metta begins to radiate beyond your body. Metta flowing in front of you. Just like a beautiful sound. So much energy. Metta flowing to the right of you. Metta flowing behind you. That beautiful sound. Metta flowing to the left of you. Ringing out all around you. Sound of metta. And even above you, sound of metta. And below you. May the sound of metta be a blessing to you now and all your days, and a blessing to all beings. Back to you, Bhante.
Okay, so thank you, Ayyā Dhammadīpā, for that very beautiful short meditation of loving kindness. Is
Yes.
my voice coming through okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so now it's my session, and what we will be chanting will be, in this session, will be the Ratana Sutta. So let me close up the Metta Sutta. And okay, but before we go into the Ratana Sutta, I'm going to explain a little bit about the nature of blessings in Buddhism, because this is a very important concept that is maybe not well understood. You see, we believe that, you might think that the Buddha has passed away 2,500 or so years ago, that the Dhamma is just a teaching written in books so that we put into practice, and the Sangha is just a bunch of group of monks, but actually we call these three entities, we call them the three jewels. The Pali word is ratana, because they are the most, we regard them as the most precious things in the world. So we say that of all living beings, the Buddha is the foremost of beings. And of all the different spiritual teachings, the Dhamma is foremost. And the Dhamma here is not just the verbal teaching of the Buddha, but also it signifies the path of practice and the goal of the path, which is the deathless or Nibbana. And the Sangha is not just the community of monks and nuns, but ideally it is the community, the spiritual community of the noble ones, of those who have attained realization of the truth of the Dhamma. And so even though the Buddha has passed away, but we can say that the waves of his great compassion spread out through the world, even down through time, through the centuries. So when we attune our minds to the blessing power of the Buddha's great compassion, then we participate or we pick up that blessing power, and it sort of enters our mind stream and plants beautiful and wholesome energies within the stream of our mind. And similarly, the Dhamma, especially in the aspect of being the path and the goal, that is the goal as Nibbana or the Bodhidhatu, the element of enlightenment, is also constantly radiating waves of spiritual blessing. And so when we attune our minds to the noble Dhamma, then we pick up the blessing power of the Dhamma itself. And the Sangha as the community of noble ones, whether they be the great personal disciples of the Buddha, like Sariputta, Moggallana, or even noble ones right down to the present time, generate powerful waves of blessing through their own loving kindness and compassion. And so when we tune our minds to their virtues, to their merits, then again we absorb the power of their love and compassion into our mind streams. And so what we're going to do at the beginning, before I do the recitation of the sutta on the three jewels, we're going to do very short meditation recollecting the three jewels. And so we start off by doing a short meditation on the qualities of the Buddha. And these are usually represented by 9 designations of the Buddha, but I'm just going to pick up on 3 of them. And so you sit in your seat, sit comfortably, but with full alertness. You can close your eyes, and now you can focus on the figure of the Buddha, the person of the Buddha, and we conceive the Buddha. I'll mention the 3 qualities, then give a brief explanation. First, we say the Buddha is Arahan, which means the worthy one. And the Buddha is a worthy one because his mind stream is fully purified of all greed, hatred, and ignorance, and because he's fully liberated from the cycle of birth and death. So bring to mind the Buddha as Arahang, the worthy one. Then next, we bring the Buddha to mind as Samma Sambuddho. This means the fully, completely, or perfectly enlightened one, the one who has completely penetrated through even the subtlest curtains of ignorance and has fully comprehended the nature of all dharmas, of all phenomena. So we bring the Buddha to mind as the fully, completely enlightened, enlightened one. Okay, and then third, we bring the Buddha to mind as Bhagava, a word sometimes translated the Blessed One, the Exalted One, the Illustrious One. And this doesn't mean that the Buddha is blessed by somebody else, but the way I understand it, that this signifies the Buddha as the source of blessings in the world. And the Buddha's blessings spring from his great compassion and his cultivation of the paramis over many, many lifetimes and aeons. And so through his great compassion, the Buddha is sending these waves of blessings out to the world. Okay, then next we bring to mind the Dhamma. And the Dhamma is said in the sutras, it's said to be good in the beginning, good in the middle, good in the end. So we can bring to mind the Buddha as, the Dhamma as good in the beginning because of the excellence of its ethical training, its moral training, starting with the 5 wonderful precepts. And so you rejoice in the Dhamma as good in the beginning. And the Dhamma is good in the middle through its training of the mind, the training of the mind in the 4 foundations of mindfulness, or the training of the mind in concentration and wisdom, samadhi and panya, or calm and insight. And so bring to mind the many different methods of Buddhist mind cultivation, and then rejoice in the beauty of the Dhamma in the middle. And then the Dhamma is good in the end, since its end, its goal, is the liberated mind, the mind that has been liberated through the training in morality, concentration, and wisdom, liberated from all the defilements. So rejoice in the beauty of the Dhamma in its end, the liberated, purified mind. Okay, that is the recollection of the Dhamma. And then we recollect the Sangha. And here the Sangha is said to be the four pairs of persons, but we're not going to take all four pairs, but we just take the community of the Arahat disciples that constitute the highest manifestation of the Sangha. And we rejoice in those who have followed the path to the end through the training in Sila, Samadhi, and Panya, moral practice, concentration, and wisdom, and who have attained the liberation of mind, who have realized Nibbana in this very life. And so just briefly rejoice in the splendor of the Sangha, the community of the Arahat disciples. Okay, now I'm going to recite some of the verses from the Ratana Sutta. I won't recite all of the verses because it's rather long, but I'll just take selected verses. And so the Ratana Sutta is a kind of recollection of the three jewels, the virtues or excellent qualities of the three jewels. So the first verse I'll recite praises the jewel of the Buddha. Yang kinchi vitang ida va hurang va sagesu va yang ratanang panitang no samangati tathagatena idampi buddhe ratanang panitang etena sachena suwati hotu. Meaning whatever treasure exists here or beyond, even the sublime gem in the heavens, there is none equal to the Tathagata, the Buddha. That is the sublime gem in the Buddha. By this truth, may there be safety. Okay, the next is a verse on the Dhamma, praising the jewel of the Dhamma. And here the Dhamma, the word Dhamma represents Nibbana, which is called here the deathless. Kayang viragang amatang panitang yad ajaga sakyamuni samahito natena dhammena samati kinchi idampi dhamme ratanang panitang etena sachena suwati hotu. The destruction of defilements, dispassion, the deathless, the sublime, which Sakyamuni, that's the Buddha, concentrated, attained. There is nothing equal to that Dhamma. This is the sublime gem in the Dhamma. By this truth, may there be for you safety. And then the next verse is the Dhamma as the path, the noble path. Yam Buddha Sato Parivanai Suching, Samadhimanantari Kanyamahu, Samadhina Tena, Samona Vijati, Idampi Dhamme, Ratanang Panitang, Etena Sachena, Suwati Hotu. The purity that the Supreme Buddha praised, which they call the Samadhi without interval. This is the Samadhi of the Noble Path. The equal of that Samadhi does not exist. This too is the sublime gem in the Dhamma. By this truth, may there be safety. Then the next verse is praise of the Sangha. Ye pugala atta satang pasata chatari etani yugani honti te dakineya sugatasa savaka etesu dinani mahapalani idampi sange ratanang panitang etena sachena suwati hotu. So this is the Sangha of all 8 types of noble persons. So we have the 8 persons praised by the good constitute these 4 pairs. These are the Buddha's disciples worthy of offerings. Gifts given to them yield abundant fruit. This too is the sublime gem in the Sangha. By this truth, may there be safety. Then I'm going to jump down to the last verse in praise of the Sangha, which is a praise of the Arahat Sangha. Kinang Puranang Navang Nati Sambhavang Virata Chita Ayati Ke Bhavasmin Te Kina Bija Avirulhi Chanda Nibanti Dira Yatayang Padipo Idampi Sange Ratanang Panitang Etena Sachena Suwati Hotu. Then the meaning, that's the old karma is destroyed. There is no new origination, no origination of new karma. Their minds are dispassionate towards future existence, a future existence within samsara, with the seeds of their defilements destroyed, with no desire to go on revolving in the round of birth and death. Those wise ones go out attaining nibbana, just as this lamp goes out. This too is a sublime gem in the Sangha. By this truth, may there be for you safety and security. And then I'll just do, grouping them all together, the last 3 verses. Yanita Bhutani Samagatani Bhumani Vayani Vaantalike Tathagatang Deva Manusa Pujitang Buddhang Namasama Dhammang Namasama Sanghang Namasama Suwati Hotu. Whatever beings are gathered here, whether of the earth or in the sky, or all of us here online, we pay homage to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, venerated by deities and human beings. In this way, may there be for all of you online here, may there be for you safety and security. Okay, so that will do for my portion of the evening. And now I'm pleased, let me close down my file and introduce our two monks from Berkeley. I see the altar of the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. So this is Venerable Jin Chuan and Venerable Jin Wei. Venerable Jin Chuan is originally from I think from Palo Alto, is it? From the South Bay of California. And he went to university, I think Stanford University. But after graduating, I think with a master's degree, he had the insight and wisdom to ordain as a monk at the City of 10,000 Buddhas. And he is now also a board member of Buddhist Global Relief. Did I say Jin Chuan or Jin Wei?
Jin Chuan. Yeah,
Jin
that's
Chuan. Yeah.
yeah.
And then Venerable Jin Wei is originally from Poland, but through his Dharma connections, probably from connections from past lives, he managed to connect somehow with the Sino, or now it's called the Dharma Realm Buddhist Association, and came over from Poland to California. I met him first as a lay follower living at the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery, and then he took first novice ordination and bhikkhu ordination, and now he lives together with Venerable Jin Chuan, sometimes at Berkeley Buddhist Monastery, sometimes at the Dharma Realm Buddhist University, and sometimes at a newly established Redwood Vihara near Boulder Creek, California. Okay, so I think they're going to do a presentation together.
Okay, so welcome everyone to the BGR New Year Retreat. This is really a wonderful way to start the new year. So we're both very happy to be here. It's also an honor to be here as well. And so we thought, given the theme of sustaining hope in hard times, we asked ourselves a question. So when things get tough, where do we turn?
Where we go?
Yeah, where we go. And for us, the answer is clear. It's Guanyin Bodhisattva. And if you know, Guanyin Bodhisattva her name means she who hears the sounds of the world.
Or cries of the
Cries of the world. And the embodiment of great compassion. And just to say a brief story, because she's definitely well loved in our community. And we have many Vietnamese in our community who have, you could say, pretty miraculous stories of Guanyin Bodhisattva rescuing them in times of trouble. And so before this gathering, we actually reached out to one of them just to get their story in detail so we don't get any of it wrong. So this story was a family that actually escaped Vietnam after the war. And they were leaving a port called Quy Nhon Port in Vietnam, in Hong Kong, this summer 1979. And they took the whole family, a large extended family, and they crowded onto this tiny boat, 300 people, and basically set off for Hong Kong, 850 miles away. So you can just imagine, she describes going off in the sea, seeing the vast sky and the vast water, and there's this kind of worry and fear in the heart. In a certain way, starting the new year is a little bit like that. We're kind of entering this new year, and it's kind of this vast open space, what will happen. And so for the first few days, things went pretty smoothly, and they were making steady progress. But then one night, a storm blew up, and the waves started getting very, very large, to the point that actually the captain and his three assistants who were trying to steer the boat lost control of the steering wheel, and the boat was about to capsize. So many in the boat started to panic, really afraid. But she said, fortunately, there were some on the boat who had faith in Guanyin Bodhisattva and started to recite her name. Namo Guan Shi Ying Pusai Namo Guan Shi Ying Pusai. And as they started reciting, all of a sudden the boat steadied and started moving forward very purposefully in one direction. And the people who were in the back of the boat on the bottom heard this strange sound, And they thought, actually, it sounded like a huge fish, probably a whale, was actually pushing the boat. And just pushing the boat against the huge waves that are coming, and they're just steadily going through the waves, and they're just reciting, and just pushed all night. And finally, the day broke, they were safe, and they went smoothly the next few days all the way to the Hong Kong port, where they arrived safely. So in her little writing after she shared with us, she said at the end, "I'm deeply touched by the inspiration and miracles of Guanyin Bodhisattva, who saved us all during this journey to Hong Kong." And in many ways, she is somebody for us in the community we turn to whenever things get tough.
And we heard many, 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 many stories. I cannot count how often people felt and actually experienced to be rescued by Guanyin Bodhisattva. But also, it's another way in that many of us can relate to Guanyin Bodhisattva. That is, she can remind us about the great compassion what we have in our heart. So when we chant her name, we can tune to this big field of great compassion, great kindness. So now we want to offer a chant written by the David Rounds, one of the members of our community, who set in the lyrics into a melody from a medieval hymn offered to Blessed Virgin Mary, this Le Livre Vermeil de Montserrat. So from 14th century. So I want to offer the chant for you, and please join us if you wish. And it can deeply capture the spirit of great compassion and Guanyin Bodhisattva field.
And each of the, you can say, verses are actually the same tune, so it's actually not hard to follow. Okay, so welcome to join, or if you just like to listen and kind of invoke the heart of great compassion in ourselves and in the universe, please do so. Okay. She who hears the voices of the world hears my voice. Namo Guanyin Bodhisattva. She who hears the cries of being in prison hears my cries. Namo Guanyin Bodhisattva. She who calms the fears of soldiers in battle calms my fears. Namo Guanyin Bodhisattva. She who rescues beings from dangerous roads rescues me. Namo Guanyin Bodhisattva. She who hears the prayers of homeless people hears my praise. Namo Guanyin Bodhisattva. She who grants the wish of childless couples grants my wish. Namo Guanyin Bodhisattva. She who soothes the tears of the dying soothes my fears. Namo Guanyin Bodhisattva. She who knows the joy of peace and friendship knows my joy. Namo Guanyin Bodhisattva. She who hears when beings call her name hears my name. Namo Guanyin Bodhisattva. She who hears the voices of the world hears my song. Namo Guanyin Bodhisattva. Okay, so wish everyone a good rest of the retreat and tomorrow, and back to Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi. Oh, muted, Venerable.
Muted.
Oh.
Okay, so thank you for that very lovely song composed by David Rounds. So I also like the way Venerable Hung Sure sings the song She Carries Me, which is very nice. Sometime we'll have to get Venerable Hung Sure to sing that song for us. Is my voice coming through okay?
Yes.
Gosh,
Yes, we can hear you.
yeah.
Okay, so now we come to the concluding portion of this evening's program. And this is going to be the recitation of the Parita of the 28 Buddhas. Now let me share my screen. Okay, first the word Parita. It's a Pali word which comes to designate a certain sutra or set of verses that serves the purpose of protection. The word parita actually means protection. And so the idea here is that when you, as I said earlier, when you tune your mind in to the qualities of the Buddha, or it could be bodhisattvas or arahat disciples, and you pick up their vibrational frequency, sort of we tune our minds to their vibrational frequencies. And so we pick up the protective force generated by their great loving kindness and compassion. And this parita operates by bringing to mind the 28 Buddhas of the past, culminating in the present Buddha, the Buddha Gautama or Shakyamuni. And so it goes back, actually, according to the tradition, the being who is to become the Buddha Gautama received his first formal prediction to Buddhahood during the time of a Buddha called Dipankara. But this set of verses brings in several Buddhas from an earlier period, even before Dipankara. So I think that there are three Buddhas before Dipankara, then we come to Dipankara, and then the Buddhas that follow Dipankara up to Gautama Buddha. So I'm going to recite all of this in Pali. So you join your palms together. First, there are an introductory verse. Namo me sabba buddhanang upananang mahesinang tan hankaro mahaviro medankaru mahayaso saranankaro lokahito dipankaru chutindaro. Yeah, I should mention also that each line contains the name of a Buddha and then a description or an epithet for that Buddha. So, for example, we have here Saranankaro, the maker of refuge. That is the name of that Buddha. But the designation or quality is Lokahito. That is the one who brings welfare to the world. Okay, so we come to Dipankaro here. This is the Buddha who gave Gautama the prediction of future Buddhahood back many, many aeons in the past. So we have Dipankaro Chutindaro. Then we continue. Kwandanyo Janapamoko Mangalo Purisasabo Sumano Sumano Diro Revato Rativadano Sobito Gunasampanno Anumodasi Janutamo Padumo Lokapa Jodo Narado Varasarati, Padu Mutta Rosata Saro, Sumedo Agapugalo, Sujato Sabaloka Go, Piadasi Narasabo, Uttadasi Karuniko, Dhammadasi Tamonudo, Siddhato Vasamoloke, Tiso Varadasamvaro, Puso Varadasambuddho, Vipasicha Anupamo, Siki Sabahito Satta, Vesabu Sukadayako, Kaku Sando Satavaho, Kona Gamano Rananjaho, Kasapo Sirisampanno, Gotamo Sakyapungavo. So Gautama, this is our current Buddha, described as Sakyapungavo, the chief bull of the Sakyan clan. And now we invoke all of the Buddhas together, all their blessing powers together. Sabbe Buddha Samasamma, Sabbe Buddha Mahidika, Sabbe Dasa Palupeta, Vesaraje Upagata, Sabbe Te Patijananti, Asabang Tanamutamang, Sihanadang Nadante, Parisasu Visarada, Brahmachakang pavatenti, loke apativatiyang, upeta buddhadam mehi, attarasahi nayaka, dvatingsa lakanupeta, asiti bhyanjanadara, bhyama pabaya supabha, sabete muni kunjara, Buddhasa bandhuna ete, sabe kina savajina, mahapabha mahateja, mahapanya mahapala, mahakaruniko dira, sabe sanang sukavaha, dipanata patitacha, tanalena chapanino, gati bandhu mahisasa, Saranacha hetesino, sadeva kasalokasa, sabe ete parayana, te sangsajena silena, kanti metta balena cha, te tvanganurakantu, arugena sukena cha, atta visati me buddha, Puretva dasaparami, Jadva marari sangamang, Buddhatang samupagamung, Etena satchavajena, Hotu te jayamangalang, Etena satchavajena, Hotu te jayamangalang, Etena satchavajena, Hotu te jayamangalang. Okay, so that will conclude. Let me close this down. And I want to end the share. Yeah, okay, so we end the sharing. Okay, so that should conclude our program for this evening. And so this is the opening for the retreat, and in a way, it's the opening for the new year. And so we'll be closing our Zoom meeting now, but I hope that you will all be able to join us tomorrow. And we'll begin tomorrow at 7 o'clock. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We start tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, which is equivalent to 6:30 a.m. Pacific Time. So we have three sessions tomorrow. One is from 9:30 to 11:15 Eastern Time, 9:30 to 8:15 Pacific Time, then an afternoon session, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. and Eastern Time, which is 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific Time. And then the last session, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, or 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Okay, so again, thank you all for joining, and we wish you all a good evening, good night.
Okay,
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank
Sadhu.
you, Bhante. Thank you,
Well.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.